We are putting ACC into the grave as we speak. Every shovel of mud on the coffin is kind of making the sim disappear. But what if I told you that this simulation is actually thriving? Appearances can be deceiving. Everyone says everybody went from ACC to Le Mans Ultimate. And you might be one of them, but this is false. Because the algorithms of social media favor the new hyped content. You'll see lots of LMU content, but the numbers never lie. And these are the Steam charts currently. On average, they are quite the same. But why is Assetto Corsa Competizione then thriving? Well, we have this on console too. And I'll show you on my channel analytics that my videos about ACC are still being viewed a lot. So in the last month, we have thousands of people watching the evergreen videos on the channel. And these are old and kind of poor videos, but they still get a lot of views. So if you're currently picking up sim racing, I think ACC is a great choice. You can learn a ton of tracks, cars, differences in setups, race types, platforms. There's plenty to do. I also believe when you're learning ACC that you'll learn fundamentals that you can quickly carry over into every other sim. So what do you gain from this video then? Well, I will get into the differences. So if you currently are an ACC player and you think about going Le Mans Ultimate, here are 15 comparisons to the both sims, how they are better or worse. Let's get into it. So first, let's talk about the tires and tire management. In ACC, it is basically hot lapping to the finish line. And this is when you do a 15-minute race or a 3 hours race. You don't really have the tire wear or somewhat of a strategy. It's just very like one-sided. You just need to push as hard as you can the whole race. In LMU, however, this is a little bit different. If you're really pushing hard, misusing the tires, they will wear out faster and you'll suffer the consequences because of it. In this area, longer and endurance races in Le Mans Ultimate make a lot more sense. There's a lot more strategy for tires. However, the tire heat influence is pretty limited in Le Mans Ultimate, and in ACC you can change brake ducts, tire pressures to get them in a better window. So I think that in that regard, I think ACC is a bit better. But yeah, in Le Mans Ultimate, it's just lowest pressures and 9 out of 10 times minimal camber, and then you don't have to touch tires ever again. So then we get the setup meta. In ACC, some damper and spring settings can't be avoided to go fast. There's a meta you need to follow, or else you'll be losing out on lap time. In LMU, however, you got a lot more flavor. Sure, there will be some metas too, but there's like a lot more flavor to it. Also, you as a driver are more responsible for lap time than the setup. So I think that's a good thing. So in Le Mans Ultimate, you can take a lot of different approaches to how your car setup is with springs, ride heights and all that stuff. And it also starts to translate into longer endurances where you kind of are on a safe setup that will be quicker during longer races than very sharp oversteery setups that starting to kill you after an hour or something. So that's really great in Le Mans Ultimate. By the way, I completely moved every ACC and Le Mans Ultimate setup to my new website, so they're not on Patreon anymore. If you're interested in picking up a pack, check the link down below. In LMU, the liveries are sorted. You can create your own liveries, display them everywhere you want without needing third-party softwares or anything. And in ACC, you still need, like, on PC at least, you need to have like third-party software to implement liveries and go back and forth. And that's just an extra app, in your system that you don't want, really. Downsides, however, with the liveries in Le Mans Ultimate, it needs a pro subscription. We can argue all day about this, but it's just the way it is. As for track choice, ACC definitely thrives with a lot more tracks, but they are getting pretty old. They are not being updated. But then again, ACC definitely wins here. And if you look at Le Mans Ultimate tracks, I like they bring out a track with every big updates, and they do like 4 or 5 of them every year. So you could expect like 5 more tracks in 2026, maybe, hopefully. So what about cars then? Well, cars in ACC are not being updated. So what you get there is what it kind of is going to be. And on Le Mans Ultimate, you get Hypers, you get GTEs, you get GT3s, you got LMP, though I think the GTEs are somewhat generic. I think the GT3s are most developed as of time of recording. I kind of hope they're gonna upgrade the tire models for the hypercars as well, because the low corner speed... Where's the feedback, bro? Yeah, again, for ACC, I think the GT3 cars are great. They give you a lot of variety. There's a lot of flavor to those cars as well. They all feel different. So I think as for cars, they both sims are like kind of equal. Yeah, then again, future proof. My money also is on Le Mans Ultimate. And if you're liking this content this far, could you please hit that like button? That really helps me out. And also let me know another differences from LMU and ACC, or what you like or don't like. I love to hear it. Another feature I really like about ACC is the lap time display on every car and track and all that stuff. In LMU, this is missing. Why can't I have an overview of all the cars I used and which got me the best lap times and the comparisons? They're not there. Please add this, Le Mans Ultimate. It's like we are racing for lap time, you know? Get it in there. So ACC definitely thrives here. So the force feedback differences between ACC and LMU. So this is especially important when you didn't drive LMU before and want to make the pivot, or you're thinking about it. Force feedback in ACC, you feel the corner weight, yes. You don't have a lot of detail. If you go to LMU, you feel a borderline force feedback all of a sudden. You get every detail. Way too much, if you ask me. Like every dent in the road is like... I think that's a bit extreme. You can argue all day if this is good or bad, but that's just the overall force feedback feeling. As for driving dynamics, comparing ACC, LMU, I think the cars in LMU are a bit more unforgiving under the entry. Also, when you spin the tires, it's very sometimes hard to recover from it. But I think it's a good thing. You can get used to this. So what about rain dynamics? Well, I think rain dynamics are really poor in both of them. Though if I had to pick a winner, I would still say ACC. There are puddles there, and the rain, how it looks with the wipers and everything, the spray, looks better in the car than a Le Mans Ultimate. Though what I do really like about Le Mans Ultimate is the visuals that you lose and the spray that coming out of underneath the cars in front of you. I think LMU thrives in this aspect, but rain dynamics in general in Le Mans Ultimate are absolutely poor. It's for me, it feels like you just lose grip in rain, and when you're on wet tires, you'll get it back. And the same feeling I get when it's vice versa. So there's no dry patches, no dry lines, none of that. Hopefully they will implement it at some point, but for now, as the time of recording, not really great in Le Mans Ultimate. So fuel saving, I don't think it's a thing in ACC, but in Le Mans Ultimate, this is great for strategy, especially with longer races, lifting before the braking point, approaching the driving in a way that you're kind of a bit slower while you're coasting a lot, but being on different strategies with different fuel levels is an absolute deeper layer into longer races, which again, on ACC it's like hot lap every lap, right? Though I really hated the fuel saving, but in the last endurance races I got some lessons for fuel saving, and it's really enjoyable. It takes the driving a whole different dynamic. So the suspension differences between the two, I would argue that the curb behavior on Le Mans Ultimate is absolutely superior to ACC. It does feel very rewarding in Le Mans Ultimate to take a curb properly. In ACC, it's like sometimes a gamble. if it's gonna work or not. So the suspension model is definitely better in Le Mans Ultimate. There's this one curb in particular on Bahrain when, at least in VR, if I take that curb, I feel this vibration, such great vibration detail on the curb as I'm driving that it kinda is like the best experience ever taking that exit curb. What about graphics, comparing the two? I'm not gonna argue which one is better. They're both different, but they're both good. Thing I will say, however, in Le Mans Ultimate, it just feels newer, or there's more to it somehow. As for optimization, I think with the engine on Le Mans Ultimate, I think it runs a lot smoother. And that's also the next point I want to make. And that is the VR performance. This is the reason why I don't play ACC anymore. VR in Le Mans Ultimate is absolutely amazing. And it's so freaking stable, and especially when you have big grids. You know, with big grids in ACC, you get immediate frame drops. You need to drop resolution, shadows, and whatever. In Le Mans Ultimate, sure, you'll still have that effect, but it's way more stabilizing, and you got a lot more playroom with lots of cars on track. And I'm using the Pimax Super for all my races and all my live streams, and they are sponsoring this video. So if you want to test out a Pimax headset, check the links down below. Also for Black Friday, there are some cool bonuses and discounts you want to check out. And if you use these links, I'm forever in your debt, sir. Another reason why I don't play ACC that much anymore, I think I created most of the content for that game. I'm into this YouTube creation stuff, so for me it's important to keep ahead with newest sims and I'm very curious about different dynamics in Le Mans Ultimate, so that's kind of the reason why I'm not playing it anymore. But yeah, it still has a special place in my heart. And again, if you're new to simulation racing, I think ACC makes sense. I think after 1,000 hours, I think you can make the pivot to Le Mans Ultimate. So what about the multiplayer then, about these games? Well, in general, the public lobbies in Le Mans Ultimate feel better to me, but they are still public lobbies, and I think every public lobby is just a mistake, especially in rookies' lower classes. I mean, you can't argue if a sim title is good or bad. If you really want to enjoy the sim to the best of its abilities, you want to kind of get into a private league, have a private competition where you have some stewarding or some harsh penalties for people that abusing other players or whatever. So as for hosting races for ACC, you got a lot of options. You can go low fuel motorsport, pit skill, and I got some friends in Holland, they have full grip motorsport. Check the link down below if you're interested in that, if you're a Dutchman or you want to get some different platforms. In Le Mans Ultimate, however, you're kind of stuck with the sim grid, that's all. And I'd also, you cannot host a server and do races on Le Mans Ultimate. Not sure why or whatever, but that's just the way it is. Now, if you make the pivot and you go from ACC to LMU, right? You might choose this. Then you highly recommend this video, because that will give you 25 tips on getting better results in your races as you're starting out with Le Mans Ultimate. Thanks for watching.